Part 46. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 451. Chapter 451. Who is this? When Zhang Xiaoxiao arrived at the operating room on the third floor, he was so surprised when he saw the complete set of surgical equipment in the operating room, which had all been installed. How could she not know these things? It's not something you can buy if you have money. It doesn't matter if you have money and don't have an approval slip, it's very difficult to get. This is a medical device. How did you do it? The family doesn't have enough money. Zhang Xiaoxiao knew very well that Song Moding only had tens of thousands of dollars in hand, and Song Moding had never asked her for a cent of the money he had. These equipments cannot be obtained with bare hands. Wife, don't worry, I will work hard to make money in the future. I will definitely help you realize this dream, but some of the hospital's equipment is indeed short of funds. I guess the tens of thousands of dollars you have are not enough. If it really doesn't work, I will consider the later funding. We have to mortgage this house for a loan. But my biggest worry is that it may not be easy to get the hospital's qualifications. Anyway, after we go to Wu's hometown today, we can go back to find Grandma and discuss this matter with Grandma. I believe that your grandparents love you, and that is absolutely 100% in favor. I will protect you. Song Moding had already thought about it. It is simply impossible for the two of them to earn money to clean up this hospital. The money that this hospital will cost is not just a tiny bit, but any machine can easily cost hundreds of thousands or millions. Millions of dollars in 7 or 8 years, that is definitely a very huge number. Not to mention that the hospital has not yet hired anyone or given any medicine. If all these are calculated, the minimum amount of funds required is definitely an extremely helpless figure. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled, "Don't worry, I have already thought about it. We don't want to make this hospital very big at once. We will only treat some simple departments at first, such as gynecology and pediatrics, and only treat some minor diseases. If they are seriously ill, it is recommended that they go to a large hospital. This can reduce the need for our equipment. Of course, some equipment may not be needed temporarily. I forgot to tell you that Mr. Ning promised to give me 3 pieces of equipment as a gift. These 3 pieces of equipment are all top-notch equipment. The financial pressure can be much less. If we purchase some simple equipment, medicines, and personnel after taking out the loan, I think we can cope with it. Zhang Xiaoxiao only has about 100,000 yuan in hand. Zhang Xiaoxiao feels that he has been lazy recently and should start working hard to make money. Otherwise, the money in hand will be a drop in the bucket. Zhang Lexi and Fan Xiuying heard that they were spending money like this. Okay. They are also worried about hundreds of thousands or millions of people talking. My daughter and son-in-law are both college students now and have no salary at all, although the state subsidizes their living expenses and tuition fees. The problem is that the money they use to open the hospital cannot be saved with this little money. Even if the couple wanted to help their daughter and son-in-law, the little money they had could barely make a splash. Lao Zhang, come quickly, there are several trucks coming down, pulling all the things. They say they want to unload the goods, but I don't know what's going on. Please come down quickly. Wang Laosan ran up panting. He was reluctant to take the elevator for fear of wasting electricity. A few steps away is not worth a single use of electricity. Zhang Lexi glanced at Zhang Xiaoxiao. Did you buy the goods? Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his head. No. She didn't. Song Moding also shook his head. Everything I have discussed with others has been delivered. I have checked them all and they are all good. Zhang Xiaoxiao guessed that it was Mr. Ning. Otherwise no one else would know that she wanted to open a hospital. This hospital has just been renovated. It has been more than 3 months since the renovation. Zhang Xiaoxiao could only guess Mr. Ning, because only Ning-shan promised to send her 3 devices, and no one else could have this energy. Several people went downstairs together. When Zhang Xiaoxiao saw the huge convoy, he was shocked. How many cars were there? There were clearly a dozen large trucks on the platform at the door, and there were at least 50 or 60 workers who got off the trucks. They are definitely professionals, and the equipment is very complete, including a small crane, a starter, and a cart for pulling goods. The leader, who seemed to be the team leader, walked directly in front of them with a few thick stacks of orders. As soon as they saw Zhang Xiaoxiao with a big belly, they walked up to them. "You are Dr. Zhang Xiaoxiao, hello. Please sign for this list. We will test and install everything on it, including if you encounter any problems in the future, please give us a call directly. We will be there as soon as possible. We will definitely ensure that there will be no faults in your subsequent use." Zhang Xiaoxiao was shocked when he took the order. She is planning to open a hospital, but she is very clear about the funds she will need to open a hospital, which is a huge amount of money. If you want to lay out such a big layout at the beginning, you don't have the ability. Having been a doctor all her life, now she is asked to think of ways to make money. She really doesn't have the ability. It's okay to use a knife, but she's far behind in business, otherwise she wouldn't be full of loopholes. Recently, she is also thinking about how to use the peaches in her space. The land in the space can make the most money. Maximize the flow of money into your hands quickly, so that the construction of the hospital can follow up. But who knew that before she could think of a solution, someone here actually gave her a complete set of hospital equipment for no reason. This is a whole set of hospital equipment, which is equivalent to what any department in the entire hospital needs. Everyone is on this list, including the required medicines, even desks, chairs, and all the equipment in the canteen, not to mention all the equipment in the operating room. Equipment and instruments needed for treatment. Not just the most advanced, but also the best. This list was heavy when she got it into her hand. This was not a small amount of money. Wait a minute, who asked you to send this? Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't know that he had such a strong backing. She wanted to hug Golden Thigh, but she also had to know who Golden Thigh was. Xia also knows who to thank. You don't know, I'm sorry, we are only responsible for installation and delivery. We don't know about other things at all. If you want to know who ordered this batch of goods for you, then you have to contact us to lead this kind of thing. The staff below us definitely don't know. The person leading the team was also confused. The person who received the goods actually didn't know who delivered the goods. This was the first time they had encountered this kind of thing. Is this doing good deeds without leaving a name? The problem is, these things are worth a lot of money. Zhang Xiaoxiao handed Song Moding the list. Song Moding was also confused. Who is this? End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 452. Chapter 452, Who do you recognize? With professional personnel present, Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding counted the items on the list, matched the numbers one by one, and handed them over to Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi. The two of them hurried to Wu's house. The two of them didn't speak during the whole journey, they were just sitting in the car thinking about their own things. Mainly both people are thinking about their personal relationships. Who sent these things? There are only so many people that two people overlap with each other. It is absolutely impossible for Mr. Song and Mrs. Song. If it was the two of them who sent it, they would not have called them in advance to tell them. The Wu family had already given them a small building, so how could they give them so much medical supplies? There are too many of these things. The value of these things can buy several small buildings like this. Lao Feng? Mr. Feng knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao was planning to open a hospital, but he didn't agree with it. Who is that? The leader of the delivery company received the call and the answer was that they didn't know who the other party was. They had to pay collect and there were formal procedures. A stranger came to complete the procedures and asked them to deliver the goods to the door for installation. They didn't get any substantial clues. Still confused. Looking in the rearview mirror, he saw Zhang Xiaoxiu's little face tensed up. He freed his right hand to take her hand and squeeze it. "Don't be afraid, we are not afraid of anyone, and we must be friends and not enemies. You can rest assured." Zhang Xiaoxiao twitched his fingers, but without taking them out, he answered casually. "You are so confident, but I always feel uneasy." She felt really uneasy. Song Moding didn't speak again, but his hand never let go of hers. The old house of the Wu family. Old Mrs. Wu looked at Wu Weiguo. "Have you thought about it?" Wu Weiguo nodded, smiled, and refilled his mother's tea. "Mom, I agree to the method you suggested, but you're still not happy. What do you want?" Old Mrs. Wu stood up and said, "Don't pour me tea. If you want to leave, hurry up. The child is coming." She was also worried about how long it had been before she came up with such a seamless solution. That little kid has such a big belly. She was about to give birth, and it made old Mrs. Wu sad to think that she would not be able to recognize her great-grandson. Wu Weiguo helped the old lady go out. The driver had been waiting outside the door. In the scorching summer sun, the two people sat silently in the back seat, watching the scenery passing by outside the car window. Wu Family Hall. Wu Pingjing looked at Mrs. Wu and Wu Weiguo in surprise. "Mom, are you crazy? Brother, do you agree?" Su Meng felt that she was a little confused. Zhang Xiaoxiao was kind to their family, but at such a high price? Aren't they too heartless to repay their uncles in return? "Mom. Otherwise, let us accept Zhang Xiaoxiao as our daughter, without using the eldest brother. This is a debt we owe, and we must pay it back. How can we let that eldest brother follow us and suffer injustice? This is not okay, it is inappropriate." Wu Weiguo wants to recognize Zhang Xiaoxiao as his daughter. Having a kiss is also a kiss. Wu Pingjing and the others were dumbfounded because it was Wu Weiguo who came forward. Wu Fei's eyes were darting around. If Zhang Xiaoxiao became the uncle's goddaughter, she and Zhang Xiaoxiao would be sisters in name only, and they could become sisters by doing things. How great would it be? Mr. Wu looked stunned. The old lady was joking. "Old woman, why are you crazy? We have already given Zhang Xiaoxiao a house. If it doesn't work out, we can help her with other things. What does this mean if you ask the boss to adopt her as a goddaughter? It's not like you don't know what's going on, boss." When people heard about it, they thought you were going to bully them. This is not repaying a favor, it's enmity. You can't mess around. If he really admits it, he should be the third child, so why bother with the boss? The boss has been in prison and is still a boiler burner. Zhang Xiaoxiao knows that, but he doesn't think it is the Wu family who wants to repay kindness with enmity. Who would want to consider a boiler burner as a father? I have thought about it very clearly. This is a good thing that kills two birds with one stone. We can't pay back Dr. Jiang's kindness with any amount of money, but a life in Xiaocheng can be calculated with money. If we just send Dr. Jiang away in a house like this, what will happen to others? What do outsiders think of our Wu family? This is how the Wu family repays others with small favors. Think about it for yourselves, why are you so shameless? Besides, the eldest son has no children. He may not get married in the future and will be alone all his life. I can't bear it. If I accept Zhang Xiaoxiao as my goddaughter, at least she will be a daughter. Dr. Jiang is a sincere and good person. When the boss gets old, Dr. Jiang will definitely not be able to ignore him. If the boss teaches his skills to Xiaoxiao, wouldn't that allow our Wu family's inheritance to continue? You do the math yourself, who agrees with you? The old lady will do bad things to herself all day long if she gives the old man a sharp look. If it prevents me from bringing my granddaughter back, She must not be done with the old man. Mr. Wu paused and thought about it. Not to mention, after the old lady said this, he felt that this matter really killed two birds with one stone. Then just listen to your mother. A slap on the thigh. But Dr. Zhang may not be happy with it. Mr. Wu feels that Zhang Xiaoxiao is not the kind of person who bows his head when he sees power. This child has a deep memory that he will fall out no matter who he is. I think it's better to forget it. Dr. Zhang has his own parents, so we can't force him to do this. Mr. Wu felt that he had gone too far. No matter how good Zhang Xiaoxiao was, he could not surpass his grandchildren. The main reason is the current situation of the boss. Zhang Xiaoxiao recognizes the boss. If they are implicated in the future, they will not harm other children. He is different from the old lady. The boss's affairs are not over until he is explained clearly. The old man cannot bear to harm others. What nonsense are you talking about? What are you trying to do to others? I just like Zhang Xiaoxiao and want her to be our child. Tell me what to do. The old lady is messing around. The old man said angrily, Old lady, I will listen to you all my life, but this matter cannot be left to your own whim. If the other children in the family don't know what's going on with the boss, don't you know either? Otherwise, you can ask the boss to explain things clearly on his own initiative, and he won't clarify the matter. If you treat someone as your child, then you are causing trouble for them. One day something happens to your child, are you feeling sorry? You only think about your boss, who will provide for him in his old age, but why don't you think about Dr. Zhang? People are kind to our family, but they are not against our family. It makes no sense to harm others just because our boss is the boss. Mr. Wu was very insistent at the moment. Old Mrs. Wu knew that the old man always listened to her, but the boss was also worried about this. She also knew that this matter was not over at all, and she also knew that if she really recognized the child, she would cause trouble for the child. But I just can't bear it. He was reluctant to see his son and granddaughter who didn't know each other. Open and shut your mouth to call yourself Grandma Wu. She hopes to get rid of that Wu, she is her grandmother. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 453. Chapter 453 Zhang Xiaoxiao is my biological daughter. I don't agree, just give up on this idea. Mr. Wu is a figure that 9 oxen cannot pull back once he gets hold of him. Punching the table, Wu Pingjing hurriedly advised. Dad, don't be angry, Mom, my dad is right, otherwise we will think about it again. He is the one who makes peace with mud. Wu Weiguo looked up at his father and said, Lao San, go get the medicine for high blood pressure for Dad and let him take it. Wu Pingjing is stupid. What medicine should I take for high blood pressure? This is not causing trouble. Dad doesn't need to take medicine for his current physical condition. This won't cause high blood pressure. Wu Pingjing answered stupidly. Su Meng pulled Wu Pingjing and said, Brother, I'll go get it with him. He doesn't know where Dad's medicine is, so I usually put it there. Come on, Pingjing and I go up and get the medicine. Without any explanation, he pulled Wu Pingjing upstairs. Wu Pingjing complained about his wife. Why are you dragging me upstairs at this time? I didn't see that our father and mother were quarreling downstairs. They have never blushed in their lives. This is the first time that they have quarreled like this because of an outsider. Moreover, the eldest brother couldn't carry it clearly. Instead of quickly breaking up the fight, he actually asked me to get Dad's high blood pressure medicine. You still took me away. What if my parents really started to quarrel? There was no one to stop the fight, so both of us left. Wu Fei is left as a little girl, What can she do to persuade her? You haven't seen the way the eldest brother is, it's just that it has nothing to do with him, he is just hanging on, and you don't know how the eldest brother is like this now. You don't care about your parents at all, so why should you give your father high blood pressure medicine? I should get medicine for my mother. Looking at my mother's face, flushed and pale, I guess she really started to have a headache and dizziness after a while. Looking at her silly husband, Su Meng was really angry. Wu Pingjing was puzzled when his wife smiled. Wu Pingjing was not stupid and reacted quickly. Do you see something? Just tell me, you don't know, I like to go straight. I can't understand your convoluted talk at all, my brain is not used for this place. Su Meng whispered, no wonder my mother always said that you are just stupid. You are really stupid. Can't you hear what your elder brother said? The elder brother must be trying to say something, and it is very easy. Caused our dad's high blood pressure. That's why I asked you to get the medicine, but you are so stupid that you are still arguing with your elder brother. Wu Pingjing had an epiphany, then scratched his hair and talked to his wife with a smile. You just like to go around like this. I'm just an ordinary person. Why do I think so much? What is my brother going to do that will make my dad angry and have high blood pressure? Su Meng shook her head, she didn't know either. Mr. Wu took the medicine and sat on the sofa looking at his eldest son in front of him. I've taken the medicine, what do you have to say? Say it quickly. As soon as you stick your out, I'll know what you're shitting. Okay, you're going to me off today. My own son said he was good. He was my favorite child back then and the son I had the highest hopes for. But he was also the son who made him feel the most heartbroken and the son who disappointed him the most. Wu Weiguo looked at a room full of curious people. Except for the second brother and the second sister-in-law who continued to see the dragon, everyone else was in this room. They were the closest people to him. Wu Weiguo didn't want to keep hiding it like this, if something happened to him one day. He hopes that this matter can be known to his family and give Zhang Xiaoxiao a good reputation. This child owes them nothing. Dad, Zhang Xiaoxiao is my daughter. Mr. Wu sneered, you haven't even written your horoscope yet, but you regard her as your daughter. You don't even think about whether she is happy to recognize you as your father? She has a father herself. I have never heard of repaying a favor. And also announced a father to others. Are you repaying a favor, or are you trying to trick others? Dad, what I mean is that Zhang Xiaoxiao is my biological daughter. Wu Weiguo also knows. Without the help of family members, it would be impossible to recognize relatives. Just like what my father said. Who has nothing to do and is rushing to find a father to come back to? Wouldn't that be a mental illness? And according to his understanding of Zhang Xiaoxiao, this girl is not the kind of person who clings to power. No matter how powerful you are, others may not be willing to be your daughter. Besides, it's not like he couldn't see how much the Zhang family loved this child. Even if he wanted to recognize him, Zhang Xiaoxiao was still not willing to recognize him. Just talk about your biological daughter. How could she be your biological daughter? You've been in jail and you've been doing this for 20 years, where are you? Mr. Wu said with disdain, unable to say anything else. Zhang Xiaoxiao is indeed 20 years old. If you really follow what the boss said, then he already had Zhang Xiaoxiao before he went to prison. You, Wu Weiguo, you actually did such a shameless thing, and you still have the nerve to say it? Snapped. Wu Weiguo did not dodge, and blood was drawn from his forehead after being hit hard. The ashtray on the old man's coffee table has flown out. The old lady hurriedly came over. You kid, why don't you run away? It's not like you don't know how serious your father's attacks are. In such a rage, he hit your head so hard that you were hospitalized with a concussion. Then what? What to do when the time comes? You still care about his head. I want to smash him to death. Tell me clearly what's going on. Why are you related to Yehua from the Fang family again? I know you and Fang the second child at home got along very well at that time, but did you know that you can't bully your friend's wife? Is what you are doing a big deal? If this was told to outsiders, would we, the Wu family, be shameless? Every person in the room is covered. Zhang Xiaoxiao is the uncle's biological daughter. Wu Fei felt that she was dreaming and had a strange dream. You guys from the third family, take the children out quickly. Third brother, you go out too. If the younger generation hears about this, how should each of them think of themselves as uncles? Wu Pingjing and Su Meng took the children upstairs and locked them in the room. The moment the door closed, Su Meng and Wu Pingjing looked at each other. Do you think what the elder brother said is true? Is Dr. Zhang really the daughter of the elder brother? I don't know either. There is no final conclusion on whether this matter is right or wrong. The eldest brother and Yehua didn't have any close contact at that time. How could he have a child with Yehua in such a good way? But if the eldest brother really said that Zhang Xiaoxiao really looks like his elder brother. Haven't you noticed? Several times I felt that Zhang Xiaoxiao looked familiar. Later, when I went home and thought about it for a long time, I finally remembered that Zhang Xiaoxiao and his elder brother looked very much alike. My eldest brother was a famously handsome man back then. No wonder Zhang Xiaoxiao gave me the first impression that this kid was extremely beautiful. You see that he looks exactly like his eldest brother without a nose or forehead. Look at Zhang Xiaoxiao's expression when he smiles, it's almost as if he was carved out of the same mold as his elder brother. There was a smile on the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were full of cold light. Su Meng nodded, as if. The eldest brother is the same, he looks approachable when he smiles, but there is no smile at all in his eyes, which are filled with flashes of swords. Zhang Xiaoxiao was like this a few times when he faced difficulties from others. Don't say it's really the same. Su Meng suddenly became happy. If Zhang Xiaoxiao is his niece, then Zhang Xiaoxiao and Xiao Cheng are siblings. This is a good thing. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 454. Chapter 454 Giving Birth. Su Meng could only vaguely hear Mr. Wu's hoarse voice. Follow me to the study room. Then there was the sound of footsteps going upstairs. Quietness soon returned, but Wu Fei felt that the air around her was so heavy that it could crush her shoulders. Through the study door, she could even hear her grandfather's roar and the faint cry of Mrs. Wu. There are several photo frames placed on a grid on one wall. The uncle is not here, and it is difficult to see his figure in the family portrait. Wu Fei heard the sound of cars coming from outside. Hurriedly looked down from the window. Short and thick hair, Song Moding's deep and sharp eyes, and sharp facial features must have made many people's hearts flutter. At least that's how I saw Song Moding at first. Now he put one hand on Zhang Xiaoxiao's waist and was carefully helping Zhang Xiaoxiao, who had a big belly, to get out of the car. The moment of tenderness caught in his eyes seemed to only bloom for the woman in his arms. The door to the study room on the second floor suddenly opened, and the movement inside was instantly amplified countless times. It was the sound of broken porcelain. Wu Fei hurried downstairs. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding noticed something was wrong as soon as they entered the room. The atmosphere seemed not right. Wu Fei ran down from upstairs panting at this time, with residual shock on her face. Old Mrs. Wu also came downstairs when she heard the sound. Zhang Xiaoxiao was sensitive enough to see the traces of tears remaining in the corners of the old lady's eyes. Grandma Wu, if it's inconvenient, we'll come back another day. She doesn't want to get involved in the Wu family's family affairs. No matter whether she is Wu Weiguo's daughter or not. You traitor, even if Zhang Xiaoxiao is your daughter, how do you plan to recognize her? Are you telling her that she is your evil offspring who was drugged and you don't welcome her into this world at all? The old man's roar brought an end to all of them. Song Moding held Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand tightly and stared at Zhang Xiaoxiao worriedly. This sentence meant that Zhang Xiaoxiao was related to the Wu family. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised his hand and shook his hand back. Song Moding's hand was very thin and big. There was almost no flesh on the back of the hand and wrist, and the bones and joints were prominent. However, when he held it in his hand, it was hard and made people feel very reassuring. "Grandma Wu, let's go back first." Zhang Xiaoxiao answered without changing his expression, and pulled Song Moding away. The Wu family is actually experiencing a major earthquake. Is Wu Weiguo out of his mind? He already knows what happened between him and Yehua. No matter who is right or wrong, it is impossible for outsiders to know. Wu Weiguo actually wants to reveal all the secrets and make the truth known to the world. Wu Weiguo is actually so affectionate towards his child, who is not a product of emotion. Only a ghost can believe it. The experience in her previous life told her that her own children may not be treated well. What's more, his appearance means the shame of the Wu family and the stigma that Wu Weiguo will never be able to wash away. Just because Wu Weiguo has a bad brain doesn't mean that she has a bad brain too. Pretending that nothing happened is the best situation. It's a pity that imagination is beautiful, but reality is very skinny. Before anyone could make a move, Mrs. Wu had already stepped forward and grabbed Zhang Xiao's wrist tightly. "Xiao Xiao, listen to Grandma, you are." Zhang Xiaoxiao's expression remained unchanged as she politely pulled out her hand. Only she knew how much effort it took. The old lady is not as strong as an old lady at all. "Grandma Wu, I have something else to do, so I'll go back first. Xiaokeng's illness has healed. I won't come to your house to disturb you from now on. From now on, let's keep each other separate and be happy." My own meaning is clear enough. Mrs. Wu is such a smart person, how could she not understand what she meant? Old Mrs. Wu looked at her empty palms. The child didn't want to recognize them at all. Who is to blame? No one would believe that such a thing existed. They can't blatantly recognize this child, so what else can they ask for? "Xiao Xiao, let's go." Song Moding put one hand around Zhang Xiaoxiao's waist, protecting Zhang Xiaoxiao's belly, worried that Zhang Xiaoxiao would feel sad. This thing is really shocking. He didn't even expect such a thing to happen. Looking at Zhang Xiaoxiao's expression, he knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao might have known about it a long time ago, otherwise he wouldn't be able to be so overwhelmed and still remain calm. Xiao Xiao is almost 9 months old, and this is not the time for her to bear such emotional excitement. Why is the Wu family so ignorant? I wonder what emotional excitement will cause for a pregnant woman who is about to give birth? This is because he doesn't care about his wife at all, and he would not even recognize such a person as his biological father. Song Moding protected Zhang Xiaoxiao and left. The car drove out for 10 minutes, and neither of them spoke. I really don't know what to say. There are too many things happening today. All Song Moding could do was hold Jiang's small hand tightly and give her silent support and comfort. At this time, not speaking was better than any words of comfort. Zhang Xiaoxiao sighed, "Second brother. Send me to the hospital. Man's calculation is not as good as God's calculation. I wanted to wait until full term to give birth to the baby, but unfortunately God didn't let me." She felt a dull pain in her stomach. There is a high possibility of premature birth. "Child, my mother didn't want it either. You have to forgive her." Song Moding was frightened and glanced at Zhang Xiaoxiao, who was pale but still smiling, turned the steering wheel and headed straight to the hospital. On the 20th day of August, Zhang Xiaoxiao was lying in a delivery room of the hospital, holding Song Moding's hand and trying to concentrate her breathing. She had been there for more than 24 hours and was exhausted, but the nurse kept telling her that everything was normal. Song Moding's beard was not shaved, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Fan Qiuying went back to prepare food. It should be here soon. Zhang Lishi was so anxious that he almost made a hole in the floor outside. Mrs. Song and Mr. Song are also guarding outside. Xiao Xiao, it's okay. You will be fine. The child will be fine too. I will always be with you. Song Moding tried hard not to be so neurotic and desperate, but his whole body was shaking nervously just because of worry. Trying hard to appease Zhang Xiao Xiao. You look as if you are the one who is going to give birth. She laughed, but her laughter was cut short as another contraction struck her. This time the intensity was slightly different, and she could feel it. She leaned back against his arm and said weakly, I don't think it will be long. Thank God. He didn't know how long he could hold on. Watching her in pain and unable to do anything about it was the hardest thing he had ever faced, and he was seriously considering limiting their number of children to one. This kind of heartache is a kind of pain that he doesn't want to bear anymore. He kissed her sweaty forehead. The nurse who came to check up looked at Song Moding's face of leaving life and death, and smiled slightly after checking Zhang Xiao Xiao. Comrade Song, your lover is right, it won't be long. We'd better send her to the delivery room. You go out and wait. During the delivery, Song Moding wanted to go in several times and stayed with her. But the doctor had done a complete prenatal checkup for her and did not think that Zhang Xiao Xiao would encounter any trouble during delivery. He firmly rejected his request, and the power of the Song family could not do anything about it. Song Moding was extremely cranky, wondering whether the trouble the doctor called was different from what he thought. She had been in labor pains for 36 hours. He didn't know if this was normal. Half an hour later, Song Moding hugged his bright red son. In the ward, Zhang Xiao Xiao, who had been sent out of the delivery room, looked at him with tear-filled eyes and couldn't help but smile. Song Moding's expression was so gentle that she could hardly bear it. That was a gentle expression of guilt. 6 pounds and 8 taels, you just barely managed to get through safely. Having a baby that is too big is not good for the mother. Zhang Xiao Xiao laughed out loud and stretched out his hand to them. Song Moding put the tightly wrapped child in her arms, and he protected the mother and son, unable to keep his eyes away from the two of them. He has never seen such a beautiful picture in his life. God, he feels so good. Although I'm exhausted, I feel really good. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 455. Chapter 455 gave birth to a daughter. Fan Jiuying holds her little grandson in her arms. This child is growing up really well. Inherited all the advantages of parents. High bridge of nose, big deep eyes, deep facial features like his father's, and full lips. The skin has completely inherited Zhang Xiaoxiao's fair skin. It is not as red as other newborns like a little monkey, nor is it like some children with severe jaundice. On the contrary, it is white and shining like fine white porcelain. The 3-day-old child has fully opened its eyes and is staring curiously at Fan Jiuying in front of her, but neither crying nor fussing. Especially when Fan Jiuying coaxes him softly, she will smile unconsciously. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought it was unconscious, but Fan Jiuying thought her grandson knew her. That was a smile for her. Mom, don't hold the child all the time. You said you shouldn't hold the child like this, otherwise the child will not want to lie on the bed in the future, and the child will be spoiled. Zhang Xiaoxiao was worried about Fan Jiuying's waist. With her peach, Fan Jiuying had never been sick and hospitalized in her life. But recently, because she gave birth to a baby, Fan Jiuying stayed here almost all day, or went back to make chicken soup and cook, doing all kinds of things non-stop. Zhang Xiaoxiao watched her rubbing her waist when no one was around. Fan Jiuying was not young after all. Even an Iron Man couldn't stand being busy for such a long time. Fan Jiuying saw Zhang Xiaoxiao put down the bowl in his hand. As expected, half a bowl of brown sugar water was left in the bowl. You child, if you don't eat and drink enough, how can our glutinous rice be eaten? You only eat a little bit of food every time, just like feeding chickens. Look at our little glutinous rice balls, they are not like what your mother said. Grandma likes to pamper us Tangyuan and hug us. We Tangyuan also like to be held by grandma, right? Have a look. Tangyuan smiled. We Tangyuan are very smart and never cry or make trouble. I have never seen a child who is more worry-free than us. Grandma hugged happily. Sweet dumpling. Yes, the little guy is white and fat. Originally, Zhang Xiaoxiao thought he looked like a bun and wanted to call him Beizai. Fan Jiuying, Zhang Lishi, Mr. Song, and Mrs. Song all refused to agree. How can their child be called Beizai? In the end, we had to call it glutinous rice balls, and everyone found it acceptable. The nickname can be anything. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at her spoiled son and shook her head helplessly. Ever since she gave birth to Tang Yuan, her mother had completely deprived her of her love, and she focused solely on Tang Yuan. Fan Jiuying and Mrs. Song took turns watching the child. Two people were holding a child and playing around there. They didn't know what such a young child knew. But the two of them had a great time playing. They even called it playing with glutinous rice balls. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought that they were probably using glutinous rice as toys. I can't eat, but the rations are enough for your grandson. Don't nag me. You feed me 6 times a day. I'm going to be like a pig. I eat and sleep, and I eat after sleeping. Look at me. My face is now round, and I'm told that I don't eat enough. She was truly blessed after giving birth to her child. She doesn't need to take care of the children. Except when she needs to eat, she will bring the dumplings to her rice bowl. At other times, she doesn't need to do anything about the dumplings. She hasn't even learned how to hold a child now. Every time her son came over, she was still in a hurry, because her mother and Mrs. Song never gave her a chance to practice. You are the child's mother. If you don't eat well, how will the child have food to eat? Just give me a confinement period. If a woman does not do a good job in confinement, you will suffer in the future. You must be obedient. You cannot be allowed to do so. Do whatever you want. Fan Jiuying didn't care. The child actually wanted to walk around on the ground, which made Fan Jiuying anxious. Zhang Xiaoxiao closed his eyes and lay there honestly pretending to be quail. Otherwise, Mrs. Song would come here soon, together with her mother, and she would be crying without tears. My status has dropped drastically. It's not as free as glutinous rice balls. What a miserable life. Who can know the mood of a mother who gave birth in August? The doors and windows in the house were closed, and it was so hot that she almost broke out in prickly heat. It was impossible to wipe off the sweat with a hot towel. Her mother was strictly on guard. Zhang Xiaoxiao is really going to die. Why do I have to have a baby in August? Fang Xiaowai was in a bad mood as she held her crying daughter. Hurry up and feed her. If you don't hear the cry, it will almost attract everyone in the corridor. I have never seen a child who can cry like this. Song's mother is not in a good mood. People also give birth to children, and you also give birth to children. You explain that you got pregnant before her, but when it came to giving birth, you let her give birth to her first. She gave birth to her child. Zhang Xiaoxiao can give birth to a son. Look at it. The old lady likes it and stays in the ward every day and doesn't come out. They all live in the ward over there. How about you? If you don't have any other skills, don't you even have the ability to coax your own children? You said you can't give birth to a grandson, so forget it if the old lady is jealous of you. Who makes me unlucky? I like a daughter-in-law like you, but why can't I even coax my own child? Tell me about you. If you can still do it, what is it for? Song's mother was angry that she would not fight. I originally thought that my daughter-in-law would give birth to a grandson, or at least be considered the eldest great-grandson. Let the old lady at least change her attitude for the sake of her great-grandson. Her son is waiting for the old lady to support him at a critical moment. Who knew, but it would have been a good thing. Later, Lin Zhang Xiaoxiao gave birth to a baby 2 days early, and she gave birth to a boy. This is a good thing all of a sudden. The old lady likes to stay in the ward every day and never come out. She loves that child with all her heart, but she is a good daughter-in-law. I won't say it later than others, but there has been no movement. I was so anxious that people could come to the room. I finally said that I had given birth, and in the end, I gave birth to a daughter. This little girl was born. I don't want to say that people don't like her, so she cried. Louder than anyone else. Mother Song was angry when she had no quiet time all day long, because she didn't like anything she saw. Fang Xiaohuai's tears of grievance fell down. Song Mohuan glanced at his mother and said, "Mom, please stop talking. Aren't boys and girls the same? Grandma has already said that boys and girls are the same, and it's not like Grandma hasn't looked at my daughter. You always say that to me." "Hui, it's not Xiaohuai's fault, she can control the birth of boys and girls. I am a doctor and my father is a doctor. Don't you understand this? Xiaohuai, please stop crying. People say it's not good for a woman's eyes to cry after giving birth. Don't listen to me." His wife was in pain, and Song Mohuan was impatient to see her mother there endlessly. Okay, now I can't even talk to you, my precious wife, right?" Song's mother was furious, but Fang Xiaohuai didn't refute, just cried. When Song Mohuan saw his wife crying, his heart immediately tilted. "Mom, is there anyone like you who is a mother-in-law? My daughter-in-law has given birth to a baby. If you don't tell her to cook some chicken soup, get some supplements, and give her some rice, you say you can come empty-handed? Keep scolding her. The child is crying, is that her problem? If you really don't want to see my daughter, then just go back and don't come. It will be easier if you don't come. Look at what this ward is like since you arrived. Crying and making noise. Mr. Wang is coming to the hospital today. What does Mr. Wang look like when he sees you like this?" Song Mohuan's words gave Song's mother a pause. "Is Mr. Wang coming?" She only recently learned that Fang Xiaohuai seemed to know Mr. Wang and even went to Mr. Wang's home from time to time. "Of course it's true. I called the Wang family, and Mr. Wang's driver said that Mr. Wang and the others had just set off, and the car they took was the hospital they came to. They must have known that Xiaohuai had given birth, and they must have come to see Xiaohuai. Yes. Tell me what you would think of our Song family if Mr. Wang sees you like this." Song Mohuan had never met Mr. Wang, but one time Mr. Wang's driver dropped off Fang Xiaohuai and he saw him, and then he realized that his wife actually knew Mr. Wang, and Mr. Wang even sent someone to see her off. This Mr. Wang was worse than his grandmother. Much more powerful. If there was Mr. Wang to help him, he would be more willing to hug Mr. Wang's lap than if he couldn't get a good look from his grandma despite his efforts. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 456. Chapter 456, Year-End Friendship. Song's mother's face immediately changed. Smiles all over his face, with an uncomfortable smile. Fang Xiaohuai felt uncomfortable anyway. My mother-in-law is a typical person who doesn't do anything to save her face now, and I don't know why I was blind in my previous life. You would think that the Song family is glamorous. Had I known she would never find Song Mohuan, a man who is not favored and has no ambition to make progress, and a husband who tries to make a living by relying on women, what is the future? Look at Zhang Xiaoxiao, he found Song Moding, no matter who is Song Moding behind him. But Mrs. Song really loves me. Even if he was sitting on a rocket, he couldn't cross Zhang Xiaoxiao. It is because a wife is more valuable than her husband. What about myself? Mother-in-law just went behind her back and didn't even show any dignity. Oh, my little darling, Grandma is not talking about you. You have to be darling, so that you won't be disliked for a while. It's a pity that the little kid didn't give me face, and he was still out of breath when he cried. What's going on? Why is this child crying like this? Hurry up and feed her. After a while, Mr. Wang came and saw that the child was crying like this. It's not annoying, and he still wants to stay here. Song's mother's words made Fang Xiaowai secretly hateful. If he hadn't been so shameless last time and insisted on letting driver Xiao Wang drop him off, he wouldn't have been able to change Song Mohuan's attitude towards him. Song Mohuan is exactly the same snobbery as his mother. Not long after they got married, Song Mohuan began to be very cold to her because he was pregnant, and the frequency of going home became less and less. Fang Xiaowai had long known that Song Mohuan was dissatisfied with her because of her return home. Either she cleverly hugged Mr. Wang's lap, but she actually didn't, or Mr. Wang had a good impression of her, at least he wasn't disgusted with her. She goes to visit Mr. Wang from time to time. Just by looking familiar and saying hello to an acquaintance when you meet someone, you can be considered as building a network. Otherwise, she could have been directly assigned to the First People's Hospital right after graduating from the medical school. It's better than the hospital my mother-in-law found for me. It was not by chance that she had a few words with the director of the First People's Hospital. People thought that Fang Xiaowai was a nephew who was very close to Mr. Wang and was quite enthusiastic about her, so she just went along with it. Took the opportunity to go to the First People's Hospital. She doesn't want to live under her mother-in-law's hands for the rest of her life. It's enough to look at people's faces at home, but why should we still look at people's faces at work? I didn't see that because of this. Song Mohuan immediately started to be nice to her, asking about her well-being, and asking about her relationship with Mr. Wang from time to time. He knew exactly what his plans were. Fang Xiaowai's status in the family has also increased. Although Song's mother didn't know why her son was protecting her daughter-in-law, she didn't say anything. After all, he was her son. I don't want to face my son face to face. What's going on? Why does the child keep crying? Song Mohuan had no choice but to ask Fang Xiaowai. I feel a little complaining that my mother-in-law is too much. Why doesn't she know how to take care of her biological daughter? Instead, she greets Zhang Xiao. Doesn't it mean biological? Yehua from the Fang family has simply been sick for almost a year. It is said that he suffered a stroke. He can't speak or move his hands. He is like a living dead and needs to be taken care of by his family. He and Fang Xiaowai went back to visit once. As soon as the smell entered the room, he rushed out immediately and never wanted to go back. Having a mother-in-law is equivalent to not having a mother-in-law. I heard that the brother-in-law was coming back soon, and my mother was very ill. It was probably because Mr. Fang relented that he got her back. But the Fang family is not close at all. Fang Xiaowai wiped away her tears. She didn't know, and there was no one who could help her. Mo Huan, why don't you go to the next ward and call my mother over? I don't know what's going on with the child like this. I feel anxious and angry. She feels pain for the child she gave birth to. Although she is a daughter, she feels pain in her heart. This is the only person in the world who is closest to me. No one is as reliable as this little man. Song Mohuan was right when he thought about it. I'll go, you wait. I just made a phone call. I guess Mr. Wang will be here soon. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to see the child crying like this in the ward. Song Mohuan hurriedly walked out. As soon as I went out, I saw a group of people walking this way. The first person was Mr. Wang, and Mr. Wang's driver. I had seen it before. He was carrying a bunch of things, including milk powder, condensed milk, many gifts, and children's clothes. You could tell at a glance that he was here. Look at them. Hurrying up to greet him with a smile. Mr. Wang, you are here, Mom, Mr. Wang is here to see Zai. As soon as Song's mother heard the voice, she hurriedly followed. Mr. Wang, please come in quickly, please come in, how can Zai help you to come here, come in quickly. Mr. Wang paused and looked at him suspiciously. The driver hurriedly said, Mr. Wang, this should be Fang Zai's family member. He met Song Mohuan once, and later Fang Zai told him that he was Song Mohuan, the second son of the Song family. Mr. Wang, hurry up. Song Mohuan greeted her warmly, and Mr. Wang personally came to visit Fang Zai, which gave their family the utmost respect. You cannot get it even if you ask for it. Mr. Wang, Fang Zai should have given birth in the past few days, probably in this hospital. The driver was embarrassed. Mr. Wang didn't say he came to see Fang Zai. How come we bumped into each other by mistake? What should we do? Fang Zai and the old man get along happily on weekdays, mainly because they don't bring so many gifts. Mr. Song and Mrs. Song came to see their great-grandson. When they arrived, they saw so many people blocking the corridor. What's going on here? Song Mohuan hurriedly and excitedly introduced it to his grandparents. Grandpa and Grandma. This is Mr. Wang, the famous Mr. Wang. He is here to visit Zai and the children. You are here at the right time. You must be able to talk with Mr. Wang. This is an announcement of good news and also a show-off. The grandson you despise is appreciated by Mr. Wang. Hurry up and keep your eyes open. Mr. Wang glanced at Mr. Wang, and Mrs. Song also looked at Mr. Wang. The smile on her face couldn't help but get deeper and deeper. You old guy, you didn't even notify us when you returned to Beijing. What are you doing? You, a senior brother, don't care about me, a junior sister? The teacher told you to take care of me at that time, and this is how you take care of me. Mrs. Song looked at Mr. Wang, whose face was full of vicissitudes of life, and went up to hold Mr. Wang's hand. Mr. Wang excitedly squeezed Mrs. Song's hand. You are still the same girl as before. Old Song, you have taken good care of my junior sister these years. You have lived up to my trust. Mr. Song stepped forward and hugged Mr. Wang tightly, his eyes moistening uncontrollably. You stinky old man, I thought, you said how you should be punished. The three old men were filled with emotion as they reminisced about the past. Mother Song felt even more happy when she saw them. Looking at the close relationship with the old lady, Fang Zai has won the favor of Mr. Wang again. Wouldn't it be possible to successfully change her son's status in the eyes of the old lady and the old man? There are two backers at once. From now on, my son will go higher and higher. Hurrying to smooth things over. Mom, Dad, Mr. Wang, you go in and sit down to chat. It's not good to stand in the corridor and disturb others' rest. Mr. Song finally came to his senses. Are you here to see my grandson's wife? How do you know Zai? This child never said anything. If we had known earlier, we would have gone to see you. Why can't we meet now? I really thought Mr. Wang came to see Fang Zai. Song Mohuan opened the door. Grandpa, Grandma, Mr. Wang, please come in. This is the most glorious moment of his life. Being able to get the appreciation of Mr. Wang and the praise of his grandparents is a blessing after all his hardships. Looking at the ward next door with a proud look on his face. Song Moding, look at it, you are far behind me. Your wife is not as capable as my wife. A backer is an acquaintance of the old man and the old lady, a senior brother and a junior sister. What a strong relationship this is. Song Moding, go away from now on. I'm sorry, I didn't come to see Fang Zai. I didn't know she was in the hospital to give birth to a baby. So, Xiao Wang, please go back and send some gifts. Now I'm sorry, Junior sister, we have to leave. Mr. Wang is not someone who embarrasses himself for the sake of face. In those years, he didn't even have to beg for face, let alone now. Although Fang Xiaowai looked pleasing to her own eyes, they didn't have enough friendship to come to visit in person. What's more, this is my junior sister and best brother, so there is no need to pretend in front of them. Speak in a straightforward sentence. The scene fell silent instantly. Song's mother was dumbfounded. What does this mean? Aren't you here to see Fang Xiaowai? Mr. Wang didn't care about that. He frowned at the person blocking his way. Xiao Wang had no choice but to step forward and gently push the person away. Mr. Wang happily took Ms. Song's hand and walked to the ward next door. Yes. The ward next door. Song Mohuan's eyes widened. Isn't that Zhang Xiaoxiao's ward? Lao Wang went to visit Zhang Xiaoxiao. Zhang Xiaoxiao was able to visit Mr. Wang. It must be the relationship between the old man and the old lady. Song Mohuan's face was livid. He was not as good as Song Moding in anything, nor could he marry a daughter-in-law and have a child. He still didn't believe that Song Moding was so lucky. Song's mother followed him unconsciously. She didn't believe in that evil. Why was Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others involved in everything? Xiaoxiao, I didn't expect you to have a baby. Grandpa came to see you and Mo Ting. Zhang Xiaoxiao exclaimed. Song Moding was also shocked. It is Mr. Wang who has been missing for a long time. Old man, what are you doing? Grandpa, you've kept us searching for a long time. You stayed in Beijing. Did you do it on purpose? You made us worry for a long time and didn't show up. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes were moist. This old man had saved her and Song Moding's lives. They have been friends through thick and thin together. Mr. Song and Ms. Song were dumbfounded. What does it mean? Lao Wang came to see his grandson and granddaughter-in-law. Look at this title, it's all Grandpa's fault. Mr. Song felt as if he had been robbed of his grandson and his lovely grandson-in-law by Mr. Wang. At the moment, I felt that Mr. Wang's wrinkled old face was particularly annoying. So unhappy. Ms. Song was extremely surprised. She knew best what happened to her senior brother. During the years when he disappeared, people thought he was dead. It is a good thing that he is so close to his grandson Zhang Xiaoxiao now. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 457. Chapter 457, Immediately transform into a gangster. Silly boy, Grandpa has come back to rehabilitate himself and is waiting for you here. By the way, Grandpa knows that you will definitely be able to return to Beijing, so why not wait for you here? Mr. Wang's eyes were filled with tears when he saw Zhang Xiaoxiao. These two children actually have children. Seeing them reminds me of that period of time. Think of the past. Fan Qiuying looked at the old man in front of her stupidly, wondering why there was another old man. The hospital has been busy in the past few days. Feng Leona is the director of the hospital. He goes around for rounds every day, and he still holds his grandson in his arms. Mr. Song and Ms. Song were their great-grandfather and great-grandmother. They would not leave for several hours even if there was nothing to do. Now there is another Mr. Wang. Old man, sit down and drink tea. Luckily, everything is complete here. Tea and cups are provided by the hospital. This is the little guy. Let me see, what is his name? Mr. Wang is holding a little glutinous rice dumpling in his arms. This little guy is so juicy that almost everyone loves him. Besides, this child always grins silly when he sees him. I don't know what a smile is for a child who is only 3 days old. Just know how to giggle. The question is who sees and who does this. It's called glutinous rice balls, and its real name is Songzi. Song Moding moved a chair for the old man. An old man holds a child as if he were holding a treasure. Who would have thought to see an old man here? Mr. Wang, How are you doing now? Zhang Xiaoxiao hesitated because he was worried about the old man. He had told them about his family affairs. Because of previous problems, his children severed ties with him, and his wife divorced him. In order to draw a clear line, they prepared black materials to report him, leaving him alone and lonely. He even had to rely on begging to make a living in those years. It is impossible to understand a person without standing in someone else's perspective. How will you decide your future life after surviving these hardships? After all, no one wants to die alone. Some people may choose to forgive, while others may choose to hate. But no matter which choice he chooses, Zhang Xiaoxiao thinks it is understandable. After all, the old man has gone through so much suffering and now wants to enjoy the family affection of his children. This is understandable. No one can choose for others. But if it is another choice, Zhang Xiaoxiao can understand it. After all, everyone longs for family affection, just like the illusory family affection he pursued in his previous life, which harmed himself. You little girl, you still worry so much you need to change your soft-hearted habits in the future, old man. I have seen too many clouds in my life, and all those things are just clouds. I am used to living alone. It's better to be alone. You can live how you want to live alone and save yourself the trouble of doing it yourself, but you will really become a loner in the future. The old man kindly touched the little glutinous rice dumpling's face with his fingers. The smooth and delicate face under his fingers made him feel the magic of life. This child seems to be born smart, and he senses the complicated mood of the old man. Lao Wang really didn't expect that the 3-day-old child would actually smile at him. Although there was not a single tooth in his mouth, that smile actually melted the thick ice in his heart. All solid ice walls seemed to be disintegrated in an instant. The clarity and purity between the child's brows melts everything. Look, look, this child actually smiled at me. This is fate. Your mother was so kind to Grandpa back then. The night when Grandpa almost froze to death, it was your mother's bowl of wontons that made him I have the courage to live. It also gave me a temporary place to live. Now you are like this again. A smile makes my old man feel that life is really good. Even for such a villain, it is worth it. It seems that we are really destined. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the little glutinous rice dumpling. How many people really loved this child? Mr. Wang, from now on, our family of 3 will be your relatives. You will never be alone, because we share life and death. The old man, Xiaoxiao, and I will take care of you as our grandfather. Song Moding spoke out Zhang Xiaoxiao's heart. Mr. Song was depressed. What's going on, old guy? Tell me. Okay, how can I abduct all my grandson, granddaughter-in-law, and my great-grandson to your side? I worked hard to get this kid. He raised me up, got a wife, and gave me a great-grandson. The result is good, now it's all yours. You're not picking this up off the shelf. Mrs. Song gave the old man a slap in the face and said, how old you are, but you are still jealous. I really admire you. When you get older, you will become jealous. Mr. Song pouted, why am I so jealous? My own grandson, grandson's daughter-in-law, and my great-grandson have all become his cheap children. I have to provide for others to live in their old age. What do you think I am doing? Is this still called a vinegar tank? You might as well ask me to give it away for free. Mr. Wang looked at Mr. Song happily and said, you are still the same as when you were young. You care about everything so much. I really admire you, you are so petty. Old Mrs. Song doesn't care that much. Brother, we met today. I can't let you go no matter what. Come on, follow me home. Let's have a good meal and talk about our experiences over the years. I won't come home until I'm drunk today. There is Lao Song, I'm drinking with you. You will not come home until you are drunk. After drinking, you will stay at our house. The old lady held onto Mr. Wang's arm and didn't let go, like a coquettish little girl. Xiao Xiao, I was pulled back by your grandma. You have to take good care of the child. Are all the things in the hospital to your liking? If you feel something is not comfortable, just report it to the leader of the company and he will help you find a solution. Get what you want. You don't have to worry about money. There will be a grandpa in the future. Grandpa now dares to pat his chest and tell you that grandpa will be your backer. There is also the hospital's business license, grandpa, to help you find a way to get it. Even if something happens in the future, my old man will be there to take care of it. You, don't worry about other things, just have a good confinement period. The mystery is revealed. Zhang Xiaoxiao instantly realized that this was a surprise given to her by Mr. Wang. Grandfather? What hospital? Old MRS Song was confused. Why does it involve the hospital? Let's go, aren't we going to eat? I'll tell you in detail when I get back. They're all crowded in this ward, you see, they're arguing about glutinous rice balls, and even Xiao Xiao can't rest. We'll have plenty of time to talk when we go back. I have no problem staying up all night today, but I wonder if you two old bones can survive it? Hey, who is afraid of whom? You are 5 years older than me, who is afraid of whom? Mr. Song immediately transformed into a gangster. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 458. Chapter 458 Misery. Song's mother ducked into the house. Those words made her dizzy. Mr. Wang is actually so friendly to Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding call themselves grandfathers when they open their mouths, and this title is still recognized by others. Song's mother was so angry that her teeth itched. Fang Zai, why, didn't you say that you and Mr. Wang know each other, and that Mr. Wang takes care of you as a nephew? Is this taking care of you? He doesn't even look at you. Do you know that we were embarrassed just now, and the Song family's face was stained? You lose your all. Song Mohuan asked Fang Zai why angrily, but he was still reasonable. The sound insulation here was not good, so he kept his voice down. Fang Zai has been confused for a long time. Why did Mr. Wang go next door? Slap in the face is not the way to play. I don't know what's going on. Mr. Wang shouldn't know Zhang Xiaoxiao. I have never seen Zhang Xiaoxiao in Mr. Wang's home. I have been to many people in Mr. Wang's home, but Mr. Wang has only seen me. If I knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao and Mr. Wang also interacted with each other, could I not tell you? She was also extremely aggrieved. Everything I have calculated, Mr. Wang has no relatives around him, and those so-called relatives are worse than passers-by. Mr. Wang is a lonely old man, and if he spends more time with himself, he will have many benefits in the future. Otherwise, how could I have arrived at the First People's Hospital? Song Mohuan pointed to the next door. You don't know what's going on, and I don't even know. Go and have a look next door. Mr. Wang can't even enter your ward. He carries all the things and doesn't prepare them for you. I didn't hear what Mr. Wang said. Let the driver give you some gifts. What's going on? I am very embarrassed today. I was also hit directly by my grandparents. The most important thing is that my grandparents and this Mr. Wang have a very close relationship. I originally wanted to curry favor with him, but this time, he changed his direction. On the contrary, it makes me unable to get off the stage. I originally had no status among my grandparents, but now it is better, and I am even more embarrassed. Fang Zai gritted her teeth. What do you mean by that? If Mr. Wang doesn't come in, he won't come in. No one has made his own choice. Who stipulated that Mr. Wang must come to the hospital to see me? I am not Mr. Wang's daughter. Song Mohuan, a loser, why should he say that about himself? Not as good as the husband in the previous life. Although he is not a thing, at least he can pretend to be with her when he lives with her. This person just started to tear him apart without even showing his face. I thought the Song family was a medical family with high quality, but now I see that Song Mohuan is just trash. I have no ability, so I blame my wife. I have just given birth to a baby, how could I be like this on the first day? Fang Xiaowai was so angry that she didn't hesitate to speak. Song Mohuan slammed the door and left. Okay, then you stay and calm down, I'm leaving. As soon as Song Mohuan left, Song's mother sneered, picked up her purse and left. Fang Xiaowai could only say nice things in a low voice. Mom, I just gave birth to a baby alone, you'd better ask my aunt to take care of me for 2 days. She didn't want to be humble, but she, a daughter-in-law of the Song family, had given birth to a child and no one was around to take care of her. What would happen if doctors and nurses saw her? You still want an aunt, your mother is not next door, let her take care of you. Song's mother felt that this daughter-in-law was a broom star. Fang Xiaowai tried hard not to get angry. It would be an insult to herself to be angry with such a person. Mom, this is a hospital, Mr. Feng's hospital. If you don't let auntie come, then don't blame the rumor that you abused your daughter-in-law who just gave birth to a child. It will be bad for you, your father, and Mo Huan's reputation. I'm thinking about you. Since you can say no, let's threaten it. Anyway, I can't really be as miserable as in my previous life. She is not a doormat. If Mother Song thinks that she is easy to bully, she is wrong. Mother Song had a cold face and stared at Fang Xiaowai with ferocious eyes. Fang Xiaowai looked at ease. Whoever gave in first would lose first. She is not afraid. Song's mother finally realized that this daughter-in-law was telling the truth. Okay, you're fine. Fang Xiaowai, I didn't realize that this dog of yours can actually bite people. Okay, I'll ask auntie to come. Cracked his back molar. Fang Xiaowai smiled victoriously and straightened her spine, then thank you, Mom. The rabbit bites when it's anxious, let alone a dog. Mom, don't say that a dog is not a dog. If I were a dog, I would still have children with Mo Huan. Child. What is Mo Huan? Worse than an animal? Song's mother slammed the door and left. Fang Xiaowai cried silently while holding her child. She couldn't let others laugh at her. The situation of the Song family is actually so miserable. Song Mohuan is worse than her husband in the previous life. He must have made many miscalculations. Zhang Xiaoxiao? Zhang Xiaoxiao? It's you every time. Is my luck really bad after my rebirth? Or is it that Zhang Xiaoxiao has also been reborn? Fang Xiaowai looked at her own problems for the first time. Are those people dead? Why has there been no movement for so long? Zhang Xiaoxiao even gave birth to a child, how could he be so lucky? She couldn't wait, Zhang Xiaoxiao had to die. The Song family's aunt is finally here. Song's mother still wants to be embarrassed. If you don't let me come, you won't be able to pass the test of your parents-in-law. It's a pity that what the aunt can do is limited. Fang Xiaowai is so anxious and angry that she has no milk at all. The child cried all day long, and neither the adults nor the children could stand it. In the end, I had no choice but to ask my aunt to buy milk powder. It's a pity that the aunt is also a waiter. Song's mother cursed Fang Xiaowai at home. When the aunt heard it, she naturally felt that Fang Xiaowai was not liked by her mother-in-law. Incidentally, she didn't take good care of Fang Xiaowai. Auntie left and never came back. After waiting for 3 hours with no sign of anyone, Fang Xiaowai could only find Fan Qiuying with her child in her arms. Fan Qiuying had no idea that this child had given birth. Yes. This is partiality. She knew that Fang Xiaowai was about to give birth, but she didn't know when the due date was. Coupled with Zhang Xiaoxiaosheng's haste, the whole family's hearts are focused on Zhang Xiaoxiao. That should take care of other things. I haven't seen anyone from the Song family entering or leaving the ward. How could you possibly know? Actually, it's Fang Xiaohuai's fault for thinking that she doesn't need Fan Jiuying. The main reason is that she has hatred in her heart. Hate that my parents were partial and made me look embarrassed when I returned home. I did not have a good impression in the Song family. Since then, I almost never went back to my parents' home. Fan Jiuying would think that this daughter did not exist. Fang Xiaohuai held her child in her arms and waited for Fan Jiuying to appear through the crack in the door. Fan Jiuying went out with a hot water bottle on her face, and Fang Xiaohuai also went out with her child in her arms. With their eyes facing each other, Fang Xiaohuai cried and shouted, "Mom!" Fan Jiuying was dumbfounded. No matter what, it was born by oneself. Even if the child fails to live up to expectations, what can they do as parents? You can still be so heartless that you don't care about her. When I saw Fang Xiaohuai holding her baby and crying, I immediately understood that Fang Xiaohuai had given birth. What's going on? Why is the child crying like this? This child has been crying for a long time. They heard it from the next door. They also said that the parents next door did not coax the child, so how could they let the child cry for such a long time? What should I do if I cry out, especially since Zhang Xiaoxiao is noisy and can't have a good rest at all? Now I found out that it was my daughter who gave birth to the child. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 459. Chapter 459. I can't be so ruthless. Fan Jiuying made the bed for Fang Xiaohuai. Fang Xiaohuai was already lying on the bed. Fan Jiuying held the baby in her arms and fed her some milk powder from a bottle. The child was hungry and kept gurgling. Looking at the child's thin appearance, Fan Jiuying was helpless. What about your mother-in-law? You gave birth to a child, and your mother-in-law didn't even know how to take care of you, and what about your husband? Song Mohuan just left you alone as a woman like this. Is this what humans do? She then learned that Fang Xiaohuai had just given birth to a child. There was no one around me. Compared to the crowds around Zhang Xiaoxiao, this place was so deserted and sad. Fan Jiuying was also sad and even more angry. Fang Xiaohuai wiped away tears. Mom, my mother-in-law is sick, and Mo Huan has to take care of her mother. I can only feel a little aggrieved here, but my aunt is here. I asked her to buy milk powder now, and she should be back soon. Fang Xiaohuai can finally take a breath now. Why is my life so miserable and I can't even take a good rest after giving birth? It's not all Zhang Xiaoxiao's fault. His biological parents have to surround Zhang Xiaoxiao, and no one cares about his biological daughter. I was right to treat Fan Jiuying and the others the way I did in my previous life. These parents did not regard me as their daughter at all, so it was no wonder that I treated them badly. This is the retribution they deserve. Fang Xiaohuai lowered her head to hide the look in her vicious eyes. Fan Jiuying patted the child, who burped and fell asleep peacefully. Fan Jiuying put the child on the crib and covered the child with a quilt. You still need to have a good rest. I'll cook some food for you. The Song family, oh, really, how can anyone treat a woman who just gave birth to a child like this? She's really not a thing. Why did Mrs. Song and Mr. Song marry someone like this? A daughter-in-law has such a vicious heart. That man of yours is also unreliable, and you can't tell whether it's a minor or serious problem at any time. I really don't know how the Song family educates their children. Comparing Song Mohuan to Song Moding, Song Mohuan is good. Say no more. You have a good rest. I'll be back as soon as I go. Fan Jiuying still couldn't let go. He turned around and went to Zhang Xiaoxiao's ward and pulled Zhang Lishi out. The child's father, I'll go back to cook. You can help Mo Ting take care of the child here. I'll be back soon. Fan Qiuying put down her sleeves. Zhang Lishi was surprised. You are not serious, what time is it? Didn't you just eat lunch? Xiao Xiao also said that he couldn't eat any more. There is millet porridge, brown sugar eggs and rice for lunch, and there is a large warm lunch box. What are you going to cook? Ah. Yes, there is also a big lunch box. Fan Qiuying was also busy and forgot. The contents of the lunch box have not been touched. It was given by the Song family and taken by the couple. It is heavier every time. But no matter what I said, the old lady just refused to give it away. Even if the old lady doesn't come, the nanny at home will send her over on time. This has become a habit. Since Zhang Xiaoxiao hasn't touched a mouthful, it's all clean. Why don't you just give it to Fang Xiaowai? Fan Qiuying had no choice but to tell Zhang Lishi that Fang Xiaowai had given birth. Zhang Lishi's face darkened after hearing this. That child has to go this way by herself, she doesn't listen to anything from us, and now it's her own fault. Hey, you'd better talk to Xiao Xiao, there's no one who gives small things as favors. Otherwise, you should go back and cook, otherwise the two children will feel uncomfortable. Zhang Lishi feels that neither Fang Xiaowai nor Zhang Xiaoxiao can stand each other. It's better not to cause trouble. Mom and Dad. Who is feeling uncomfortable? What are you hiding here and whispering? When Zhang Xiaoxiao went to the toilet and came out, he saw a couple hiding here talking, and happened to hear the last few words. No. It's nothing. Mom wants to go back. Tell your dad to go back and lie down quickly. Go quickly. Fan Qiuying hurriedly supported Zhang Xiaoxiao on the bed. This child has really good health and bones. He is full of energy after giving birth, and he always wants to go to the ground to do some exercise. Fan Qiuying was stubbornly refusing to give in. Zhang Xiaoxiao lay down and held Fan Qiuying. Mom, please don't hide it from me. I just heard you and Dad saying, is Fang Xiaowai giving birth? She's right next door. Don't be afraid of me being angry. You went back to cook for her. Our home is so far from the hospital. It takes more than an hour to run back and forth. Just take some of my food to her and don't run back and forth. You're on the road all day long. If you don't bother yourself, you're bothering my dad. You said 5 meals a day, are there any like you? Now that Fang Xiaowai is added to the mix, you and my dad can't get by. Just be on the road and in the kitchen all day long. Zhang Xiaoxiao feels sorry for his parents, not Fang Xiaowai. The two of them are enemies. You child, you are the one who loves your parents. How can you not know it? You hate Fang Xiaowai the most. This is not for your parents. It saves my mother from hard work. That's why you open your mouth. Mom knows that she will love you in this life. It hurts. No matter you are your biological child or not, you really feel for your parents. Hey, sometimes I just think about it. How could I be so virtuous and capable in this life? How could I have a daughter like you? I always think about my parents, and can endure any grievances in order to feel sorry for my parents. That Fang Xiaowai, if I had half of your son, even 1/3 of you, my mother would be relieved. Fan Qiuying was afraid that Zhang Xiaoxiao would be angry. This child was a generous person, but when facing Fang Xiaowai, he would inevitably lose his temper. She was afraid that Zhang Xiaoxiao would feel that she was neglecting Zhang Xiaoxiao for the sake of her biological daughter. Zhang Xiaoxiao held Fan Qiuying's hand and shook it. Mom, you are my mother, why are you being polite to me? I have always regarded you as my own mother. Whether you hit or scold me, I think it is appropriate. I just treat it as if there is a strange pregnant woman next door who you don't know, and no one cares about giving birth to the baby. I just need to sympathize with her and take pity on her. I didn't take her to be Fang Xiaowai. If I took her to be Fang Xiaowai, I wouldn't let you recognize her even if you beat me to death because of what she said and did at our house that day. That's just a white-eyed wolf. No matter how nice you and Dad are to her, she won't remember your kindness in her heart. If she could be nicer to her parents, I might not target her like this. Unfortunately, she is not such a person at all. Zhang Xiao's novel is true. She hopes her parents will wake up and stop giving too much emotion. In the end, it is the parents who will be hurt. Fan Qiuying patted Jiang's little hand and said, "Mom, you know, sometimes when Mom is angry she says, just pretend she never gave birth to her, but looking at her like that, I still can't bear it, just pretend I'm a mom. If she is kind, her mother will not have much contact with her in the future." Mom knows, your dad also said that Fang Xiaowai is not a good person. The couple still have some knowledge, but they are biological children after all, and Fan Qiuying can't bear to be cruel. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 460. Chapter 460 Burns. Fan Qiuying came over excitedly with an insulated lunchbox. These are the noodle soups she made, using chicken soup that has been simmered for several days. She chose the best rooster. The bones are stewed until crispy. There are eggs nestled in it, and some green vegetables and tomatoes are added. It tastes very good. Zhang Xiaoxiao can eat a big bowl every time. Mom brought you some soup noodles, eat some quickly, I'll cook millet porridge for you when I go back in the afternoon. Fan Qiuying feels that her daughter is as familiar as the two of them. Fang Xiaowai became anxious when she saw the insulated lunchbox. Mom, didn't you just say you would go home and cook for me? Why did you come back so quickly? Where did this insulated lunchbox come from? Did you bring me the leftover rice from Zhang Xiaoxiao? How could you treat me like this? I am also your biological daughter. Why do you treat me like this? Give Zhang Xiaoxiao whatever is good and give me the bad. Fang Xiaowai pointed at the lunchbox and lost her temper. According to the time, it was impossible for Fan Qiuying to come back, just showing up with an insulated lunchbox in just a few minutes. It goes without saying that this must be Zhang Xiaoxiao's meal. It was already past dinner time, so Zhang Xiaoxiao brought the remaining rice for himself. What did her mother think that she treated her biological daughter so badly? I haven't taken care of myself once in so many years, and I didn't even cook for myself when I gave birth to a child. The mother-in-law didn't care about her because she wasn't her biological child and she didn't have a son herself. But my own mother did the same to me. Fang Xiaowai felt wronged and angry. The whole world was full of malice and rejection of her. Fan Qiuying was stunned by what she said. I was afraid of being a little angry and angry that I was partial, but I didn't expect that Fang Xiaowai would turn on her and scold her. Fan Qiuying only felt that she was feeding the dog with her enthusiasm. I still feel sorry for Fang Xiaowai in my heart. I feel that Fang Xiaowai is very pitiful and it is better to be pampered in a small way. Looking at Xiao Xiao, there is himself, Zhang Lishi, MRS Song, and countless people coming in and out to visit. Song Moding was fully clothed and guarding Zhang Xiaoxiao and his children. He didn't need Zhang Xiaoxiao to lift a finger at all. Now my poor Fang Xiaowai lost her temper. Fan Qiuying feels that Fang Xiaowai is probably in such a situation because she is to blame. Poor people must really be hateful. Look at it, it won't make you hate it so much. What are you talking about? This meal is so small that I haven't even eaten a bite. It takes me more than an hour to get home from the hospital. I'm not afraid that you will be hungry. Fang Xiaowai's eyes were red, and she only had one thought in her heart. She was ruined by the Song family and didn't regard herself as a human being. Now her own mother is like this too. Everyone is trying to please Zhang Xiaoxiao, not just because they see Zhang Xiaoxiao as useful, but they are surrounded by people of high status, and they all look down upon others. She felt unwilling to vent her feelings to others. But when it comes to Fan Jiuying, she always feels that Fan Jiuying owes her. If they hadn't lost themselves, everything Zhang Xiaoxiao should have been himself now. The result was not bad, but now I have become the one whom my father does not love and my mother does not love. Fang Xiaowai was filled with sadness and evil, and she overturned the lunchbox in Fan Jiuying's hand, scattering a good lunchbox of chicken soup and egg noodles all over the floor. I don't want Zhang Xiaoxiao's false kindness. She and I are at odds with each other. You are not my biological mother. Leave me alone. I don't want to see you again in the future. Because it was an insulated lunchbox, Fan Jiuying was poured heavily onto her legs. It was summer again, and she didn't wear much, so the pain in her legs immediately became unbearable. Fan Jiuying cried out in pain and broke into a cold sweat. Fang Xiaowai turned a blind eye at all. Song Moding and Zhang Lishi rushed in. Originally, there was only a wall separating the two wards. How could the people over there not hear Fang Xiaowai shouting so loudly here? It was difficult for Song Moding to come in at first, but it was easier with his father-in-law here. When the two people rushed in, they saw Fan Jiuying sweating on her forehead, which had been in pain for a long time. The pants on one leg were almost stuck to her legs. The steaming look made people feel distressed just looking at her. The two men carried Fan Jiuying directly back to the next door. Zhang Xiaoxiao was sitting there waiting. She really didn't want to see Fang Xiaowai, otherwise she would have rushed over long ago. She didn't expect to see her mother like this all of a sudden. He was also frightened. Especially when I saw the situation on my pants, I immediately knew it was an insulated lunchbox that had been spilled on my legs. The noodle soup in the insulated lunchbox was made of chicken soup. It was very hot. Although my mother took it for a while, the heat did not subside at all. It was poured directly on the pants. The summer clothing was thin and sparse. I'm going to call the doctor. Song Moding ran out. Zhang Lishi was so anxious that he didn't know what to do. Zhang Xiaoxiao found a knife. Fortunately, there was a fruit knife in the drawer. Zhang Lishi carefully cut open his pants. Zhang Xiaoxiao had already poured a glass of peach juice for her mother to drink. Fan Jiuying was in severe pain, but she gritted her teeth and endured it, fearing that her daughter would rush over if she couldn't hold back the fire. How could she not know what her daughter's temper is like? If you see yourself injured, someone will die. The doctor has arrived. When he saw the injury on his leg, he also looked stern. Half an hour later, Fan Jiuying was bandaged tightly. Burns are not left to air as people imagine, but must be bandaged. Fan Jiuying has been in pain for a long time and her face is pale. Zhang Xiaoxiao was already anxious in the ward alone. When he saw his mother's appearance, he couldn't help it. He rushed out immediately. Kick opened the door next door with one kick. Fang Xiaowai was lying on the bed eating an apple. Auntie bought milk powder and brought a lunch box of noodles. She put her things down and told her that there was still work at home and asked her to have a good rest, and left immediately. Fang Xiaowai also felt relieved and was eating the apple happily. I don't care at all how Fan Jiuying is doing now. As a result, Zhang Xiaoxiao kicked the door. Like the thunder, Fang Xiaowai jumped up in fright. He felt bad when he saw Zhang Xiaoxiao rushing in with sharp and fierce eyes. She looked at Fan Jiuying just now and didn't do anything. Could it be that Fan Jiuying was serious? She thinks the leftovers can be kept warm. It's not that big of a deal. But now she is afraid. Zhang Xiaoxiao rushed over, grabbed Fang Xiaowai's hair, and pulled her off the bed. Because Zhang Xiaoxiao was very strong, Fang Xiaowai was defenseless and was crushed almost overwhelmingly. What are you doing? Zhang Xiaoxiao, please let me go. I'm telling you, I'm not someone to be bullied. Let me go. I'm beating someone, come on. Someone's beating me. Fang Xiaohui could only spread her hands randomly and pat Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand, trying to free her hair. It's a pity that Zhang Xiaoxiao could not let her escape easily. He was dragged and dragged almost all the way to Fan Jiuying. Throwing the person to the ground, look for yourself, look at the good things you have done, your legs are so hot, you dare to touch my mother, she is also your mother, even if you are resentful in your heart and do not want to recognize this biological mother, forget it if you don't admit it, why bother bullying others like this? Is your heart made of flesh? She hasn't raised you for a day, but she doesn't owe you either. It was the nurse who wronged you, and Yehua was the one who made the mistake deliberately. You have the ability to take your hatred and grievances to Yehua. Your ability is to dominate and bless honest people. You apologize immediately, immediately. Zhang Xiaoxiao pressed Fang Xiaohui's hair, and Fang Xiaohui had to raise her head to look at Fan Jiuying's legs. The gauze wrapped on it is shocking. Only in my heart did I know that Fan Jiuying was so seriously injured. End of this chapter.